Welcome to Gold Derby. I'm senior editor Denton Davidson here with a former Major League Baseball star and World Series champ for the Boston Red Sox, not to mention the artist formerly known as Sherlock Hound on The Masked Singer, Bronson Arroyo. Bronson, you made it all the way to that Group C final, and it was a tough group. Were you nervous while you were waiting for Nick Cannon to read those results?
Oh yeah, for sure. I was definitely nervous, I mean, anytime you kind of get in a position where you're kind of fighting for something or just competing a little bit, it doesn't matter if it's like, playing jacks as a kid or playing ping pong or whatever it is, you get a little competitive fire. I can definitely take a loss with the best of them, but you get nervous and you want to move on to the next round and definitely, do your best.
I was gonna ask if your competitive edge kicks in even with music. How disappointed were you that you didn't get to go meet up with Buffalo, Goo, and Wasp and see how you stack up with those guys?
Yeah, it was a bit of a bummer, I definitely, once you get into the moment, yeah, what I think I was looking forward to the most was not really battling everyone else, but getting to some new songs, right? There were some songs in the batches that I had never sung on stage before, because a lot of times I'm singing a bunch of rock and roll, and some of these songs were really beautiful and pretty, and I was hoping to get to a place where I could try some of those out. Because like doing the Miley song was something completely out of my comfort zone, but sometimes you can find them in a different key and play them on acoustic guitar and be like, oh, I would have never thought to play that song before. So it was a bit of a bummer that ride kind of got cut short.
And the panelists thought you were a rock star for the majority of your time there. They floated around names like Scott Stapp, Anthony Kiedis, Hosier, Eddie Vedder, Gavin Rossdale. Were you particularly happy or impressed with any of those comparisons?
Yeah, I mean, all those guys, I've loved my whole life, right? I mean, being friends with Eddie Vedder and listening to Incubus and loving Bush as a kid. I mean, I grew up on the '90s alternative stuff, right? I was in high school when Soundgarden and Nirvana and Pearl Jam all hit. So those were all, underneath the mask, I was just laughing, thinking for one, I'm probably a foot and a half taller than Eddie Vedder, but otherwise, I'll take the compliment. But it's fun to try to emulate, in karaoke as a 16-year-old kid, some of these artists, and then just to sing on a stage where it sounds good, and you have people saying like, "Oh, I can put you in that same ballpark." It was very fun.
Who was your favorite singer or band growing up? Like, who did you listen to the most that sort of helped form your musical identity?
Definitely the Pearl Jam 10 record, shaped a large part of my life. I mean, there was probably the better part of 22 years of me playing baseball that I was listening. If I was in the weight room and I was having to squat heavy or, do things that your body didn't want to do all the time, I was listening to that 10 record. There was so much angst and energy inside of those songs, like Even Flow and Once, that even to this day, playing in the cover band around Cincinnati, a lot of times I'm playing those songs. They just feel so good. It's almost like a workout in a way. It's just a release to be able to sing at the top of your lungs like that, and the energy in the riffs that they wrote were just amazing.
Well, Robin did finally piece together enough clues to figure out you were a baseball player. What did you think when he said your name? Were you happy or were you hoping to sort of skate by undiscovered?
No, I was hoping to skate by undiscovered a little bit. The clue packages, I wasn't really privy to it the same way you would watch it, as you watch the shows back. And so I didn't know exactly how many things were out there. I knew there was some subtleties that we were doing on our end, but I didn't know all the things that were out there. And so it was kind of like I don't know if I'm gonna skate by here or not. And when he started talking that day, and I could tell he was going down the road and he was real sure of himself. I was like, uh-oh, we could be in trouble here.
When did you learn Barry Zito would be your masked ambassador? Because that was kind of a big clue, that a baseball clue anyway, that they sort of glossed over. Like they didn't really, that didn't click with them. But when did you find out about Barry being part of this?
Yeah, that was kind of earlier in the process. We were talking about ambassadors and if I was connected to anybody who had been on the show before. And I was kind of looking down a list, and obviously, I was hoping it would be somebody that wasn't connected to the baseball world, just to throw them for a little bit more of a loop. I think probably the only person who had been on the show that I really had any interaction with in the past was Jerry Springer, and obviously he had passed, so he couldn't be there. But Barry, I'd played music with Barry in the past. We had some jam sessions and we played some shows together in some spring training out in Arizona, and I was hoping that it would be somebody who wasn't so connected to baseball, just to give him a little bit more of a curveball. But it seemed to throw him for a loop for a little while anyway.
And this is, as you stated, you play this, so it's a little bit more than just fun for you. You fully transitioned from baseball to music. You have a new album called Bronson Arroyo Life Lessons. What has that transition been like for you from baseball to now music stages?
It's just it was a slow process for me. I picked up a guitar in the minor leagues. I was 22 years old. I'd never played an instrument before. And it slowly went from playing around a campfire to an open mic night to making a cover album in 2005 and slowly getting on stages with people. I come back from the All-Star game in 2006 and you got the Counting Crows asking me to come up and sing and play hanging around with them, in Cincinnati. And so it's been a really kind of slow maturation over 20 years of getting up on stage and trying to peel back the layers of getting more comfortable with stage performance and playing your instrument and keeping your voice in shape and all these things. And now it feels like, if I didn't have that in my life, honestly, it'd be a little tough. You play a sport near the top of the mountain or you do anything in life, at the very, very top. And there's a certain adrenaline and a certain, butterfly in your stomach before you get out there and all that angst. And there's something really beautiful about it. And it's hard to duplicate that in a lot of places. And so getting on stage gives me a bit of an outlet to at least get nervous in front of a couple hundred people and feel like you got to give them a performance.
And it's weird being a professional athlete because you retire, but you're still so young I mean, compared to most people who retire. So
Right.
it's good to have some sort of passion that you move on to. And you sort of grew up around music, right?
Yeah, my family was into music. My grandmother was a music teacher down in the Keys for about 70 years. And it was always around me as a kid, but I was climbing trees and I was super hyper and I was really physical in those early years. And I wasn't I would listen to the music, but there was nothing about it that really turned me on. It took until, 1992 to hear the Pearl Jam 10 record and hear Stone Temple Pilots and Nirvana and Bush and Soundgarden to really kind of perk my ears up to think maybe I want to try to do this myself. And so I kind of hacked my way through an acoustic guitar for the first few years when I was about, 22 to 25. And then you start figuring out that it's like riding a bike and it's something you're going to be able to do for the rest of your life and you're never going to forget how to do that and how many beautiful places you can go, whether it's sitting in a hotel room with 6 or 7 strangers you just met that night, or you know being at a family gathering, whatever's going on, that music was going to be very valuable for me to present to people. And as time goes on, it feels like without that, I wouldn't say I'd be lost in the world for sure, because I could find some things to do, but I don't know if I could find something that would turn me on as much as playing music.
And when you look back at your baseball career, is the World Series the obvious highlight, or like when you look back on all of it, what do you take away with the best memory?
Yeah, there's probably winning a World Series was so remarkable in 2004. If there's anything about that I could change, I wish I probably could have been a little bit older to kind of really feel more established at the major league level before that happened. But it kind of happened, on the ride up, and then I got to have 9 years in Cincinnati that I felt like I was where I was supposed to be. I was leading that team and raising the young guys like Joey Votto and Jay Bruce and the Johnny Cuetos of the world. And when I think back of just the things that jump off the page is winning the World Series and probably two starts in the playoffs. One that was that year against Anaheim in the first series, and then beating. I had a no hitter into the seventh inning against San Francisco and Madison Bumgarner in 2012. And when you're playing in playoff games, it's kind of a different ball game for sure. And those are the things that kind of jump off the page, I think, when I think back on my career.
Such a great career, and it was so much fun to see you on The Masked Singer. Real quick, can people see you out? Are you outperforming? Where can people catch you?
Yeah, mostly it's in the Cincinnati area. We kind of stay within a 2 hour radius. Knowing a lot of people in the music industry, I know how much of a grind it can be, and I'm kind of in that pocket or that level of giving you a 2 hour show. But if I have to drag the band all the way to your city and pay for plane tickets and hotel rooms, sometimes it doesn't feel like it's worth, the juice isn't worth the squeeze. So we like to play within a couple hours of Cincinnati, usually sleep in our own bed every single night. But if you check the Bronson Royal Band Facebook page, that's where that stuff's going on, and that's all cover songs, anything from the Beatles to Nirvana. And then, I don't know what's going to happen with this new record, Life Lessons, but I'm hoping there's going to be some opportunities to play some of this acoustic stuff for people, a little bit more singer-songwriter in the future.
Well, at least we all got to see a little bit of the show on The Masked Singer. And Bronson, thanks for chatting with Gold Derby today.
Thanks.